Hello everybody, welcome to all. In the previous session, we have discussed about fundamental properties of material and types of loads, concept of stress. So, in the fundamental properties of material, we have discussed four kind of materials. First one is the homogeneous material, and then second one is isotropic material, and third one is anisotropic material, and the finally orthotropic material. If in case of homogeneous material, all the properties are same at any point, we can call it as a homogeneous material. If in case of isotropic material, for particular direction all the properties are same, we can call it as a isotropic material. If in case of not same at a particular direction or at any particular position, if all the properties are not same or equal, we can call it as a allotropic or anisotropic process, anisotropic materials. Suppose if in case of orthotropic materials, all the properties are in a same or equal in a perpendicular direction, we can call it as a orthotropic material. And next, types of loads. What are the types of loads acted on the bodies? Okay, uh, if in case of whether it is a tensile load, which tends to increase the length. Okay, if in case of compressive load, which is kind of a pushing force, which tends to compress the, or which tends to decrease the length of the beam, so we can call it as compressive. If in case of tear off, we can call it as a shear load. And transverse load nothing but which is the force are acted at a perpendicular direction to the beam. You can call it as a transverse loads. Or concept of stress, how does the stress has been induced within the body while applying the force on the body. Okay, external force on the body. In this session we will learn about concept of stress and strain in detail. And then next, elastic constants nothing but we assume some assumptions. We consider some assumptions. As per the assumptions, what is the relation between the stress and strain? How do we calculate the, how do you we derive the relation between the stress and strain? So in the process of, in the derivation, in the order of derivating stress and strain, we consider some constants. These constants are called it as a elastic constants. And the next, mechanical properties of materials. So coming to the concept of stress, as we know that when a load acts on the body, and the internal resistive force resists deformation. So which is this internal resistive force, which is equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, which it tries to resist the change in body. Okay, this internal force is equal and opposite to the external load. The total resistance per unit area of cross section is called induced stress or stress. Stress is usually denoted by sigma, and A is the cross sectional area normal to the load. Then stress is mathematically, stress is equals to the load per area of cross section. We can call it as a P by A, Newton per mm square. Newton per mm square is nothing but the unit of the stress. How do you measure the stress? In SI units, the stress is expressed in Newton per meter square. We can call it as a Pascal. And the next, in case of Newton per mm square, we can call it as a megapascal. Okay. Suppose I'm considering one object here. If I apply an external force which is acted in this direction, we can call it as a, that external force we can call it as a P. So at any, and then I consider a section here from the distance of x. Just I consider it any one section. It may be, we may consider at any distance. It may be x or y direction from 1 meter or 2 meters. At any distance, so in order to balance this external force, in order to bring the entire system into equilibrium position, some internal force has been induced. These internal forces are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, which tries to resist the body. What causes to the what is the effect of P? Okay, which resists the cause of P. So if I consider, if I apply 5 newtons here, then the forces are distributed like here. These forces are distributed like 1 newtons, 5 particles. Let us suppose here there are only 5 atoms here. So every atom has a resistance of 1 newton. So in the summation of all the atoms, we can obtain the finally 5 newtons. So this internal force, this internal resisting force, all these internal forces acted over the or across the cross-sectional area of the beam. This is the cross-sectional area. So all these forces are acted over the cross-sectional. Here we can observe this. This is the cross-sectional area of. So all these forces are acted over the cross-sectional area with the reference of cross-sectional area. So we can call it as a stress. So whatever the force, whatever the force acted on the body, which these forces are distributed equally. Distributed equally in a atomic level. All these atoms, if I consider 5 atoms, if I assume 5 atoms, all these atoms share the external force in equal magnitude. So 1 newtons, 1 newtons, 1 newtons. So all these atoms have a resistance force of 1 newton. We can call it as a, this internal resistance force per unit area, we can call it as a stress. Okay. And then types of stress. Coming to the types of stress, depending on the direction of load, the following types of simple stress are induced in a component: tensile stress or compressive stress or shear stress. Tensile stress, the load acting along the axis, the perpendicular to the area of the cross section, is called normal or axial load. Tensile stress is nothing but whether it is the external applied force is tensile, the induced correspondingly or simultaneously the induced internal force per unit area, we can call it as, what are the stress induced within the body, we can call it as a tensile stress. If in case of tensile load, tensile stress has been induced. If in case of compressive load, the compressive stress has been induced. If in case of shear load, correspondingly the shear stress has been induced within the body. So tensile stress is directly proportional to the load, tensile load. So tensile stress is equals to the P by A. P is nothing but the tensile load, and areas which represents the area of cross section, and the compressive stress. Axial load tends to compress or shorten the length is called the compressive load, and the stress induced within the body we can call it as a compressive stress. So when this is the pulling force, if in case of tensile stress, the what are the kind of external agency is tends to which tends to increase the length, we can call it as a tensile load, or we can say pulling of the what kind of action it is, pulling action. If in case of compressive load, the what kind of action is pushing action. And then next, if in case of shear load, which tends to break the body or tear off, which tends to tear off. So when I applied a force P in this direction, the opposite internal forces or resistance force has induced it in opposite direction. If in case of if in all this internal force, if in case of lies in the same plane or opposite plane or same axis or parallel or non-parallel, whatever it may be, the stress is directly proportional to the shear load of, and at the same time cross section over the it has been applied. What is, and next, strain. Strain is nothing but when your body is in a state of stress that is loaded externally, deformation takes place. While applying the load, some deformation has been takes place, which tends to changes the external force tends to change its dimension. So if you consider the change in dimension, a simple tensile stress tends to elongate, or compressive member shortens. Compressive, you can call it as a shortened strut. If in case of tensile member, you can call it as a tie. The ratio of change in length to the original length is called strain. The ratio of the change in length to original length with reference to what is the actual change in dimensions with reference to the original length. If in any fraction, we can call the denominator represents the denominator which represents the reference axis with reference to which one. So in here the strain is directly proportional to the change in length, or with reference to what are the reference we have taken, original length. So strain is directly proportional to the is equals to the change in length by original length. So when I apply the force in like x direction, then what is the change in dimension? Delta L. We can call it as a delta L, which represents the change in dimension. So what is meant by strain is what is the change in length dimension with reference to the original length. Suppose the original length is 5 meters, and then while after the application of load, the change in length will be 1 meter. So the strain will be the 1 by 5 meters, 1 by 5 meters, 1 by 5. So here the one thing we need to observe here. Here the change in length, the units of the length, change in length is meters, and at the same time the units of the original length is meters. So we can cancel both the units. So and at the end of the day, end of the final day, there is no units for the strain. This is the comparative point of the concept. Remember this thing, this one. And the next, shear strain, or if in case of compressive strain also, while applying the compressive load on the body, the strain is nothing but, suppose initially the load is acted here, and then laterally while applying the force, after the application of force, the body tends to shorten or decrease its length. So what is the amount of reduction? What is the amount of reduce in the length, we can call it as a change in length. If in case of compressive strain, is the ratio of between change in length to original length. That's enough. If in case of shear strain is nothing but the, suppose, let us consider an cantilever beam, which is of one end which has a beam which is fixed at one end and free at another end. At the free end, we will applying a external force here, external load here. So while application of loads, suppose this is the side view of the beam. While applying the force here, the body which tends to change its dimension, like a n or dp, ab dash or dp, dc dash. So body is tends to, this is the cantilever beam. When we apply a external force acts on the free end and edge of the beam, so body, this force tends to change its position of the body, like this one. So actually, what is the change in length? Delta L to the is the original length. This is the original length. So a stress sign is nothing but the change in length to the changes length to the original length. Here the changing length is x. Initially, the body at B position, after application of load, the body tends to move from B to B dash. B to B dash. So what is the distance between B dash to B? You can assume it as a x. At the same time, what is the length of the beam? We can call it as a y. So what is the strain? Shear strain is nothing but the x by y. X by y. So this is the strain which can, how does we represent shear strain is phi. So how does we represent strain in small e, or we can call it or epsilon. Okay, epsilon. And the next, since x will be the small, next, since the, as compared to length of the beam, what is the deformation, what is the deflection, what we observed is x. The x will be small, therefore phi is expressed in radians, not in degree centigrade, not in degrees. 360 degrees equals to, as we know that 360 degrees equals to 2 pi radians. So the phi is, if in case of in the problems, if in case of the problem has been the problem has given in the degrees, we can later we can convert it into radians. Thus the measure of shear strain is the rotation of planes perpendicular to the applied shear load. The measure of shear strain is rotation of the planes perpendicular to the applied of shear load. Volumetric strain. Next, the consider each face of the cube is subjected to equal compressive force. The result of these forces will be reduction in volume. The ratio of change in volume to the original volume, we can call it as a volumetric strain. Actually, in this case, when the tensile load has been applied, then which tends to the body change in length. At the same time, contemporarily, there is a change in diameter also, change in width also. So there is a chance of might changing the as well as the length as well as the breadth. So there is a chance of changing the volume. So volumetric strain, which is nothing but the change in volume by original volume, is called volumetric strain. Suppose the original length of each side of the cube is L, then delta L is the decrease in length of each side due to stress. Then volumetric strain equals to L cube minus L minus delta L cube by L cube. Neglecting small quantities is nothing but the volumetric strain is equal to 3L square delta L by L cube equals to 3 into delta L by L. So all this L square and cube has been getting cancelled. So volumetric strain is equals to 3 times of normal strain. So in this derivation, L cube is nothing but the original volume. The L minus delta L cube is it, which indicates the after the application of load change in volume. L minus delta L cube is nothing but the change in volume. So what is the in the difference between the original volume and the change in volume with reference to the original volume, we, we can get a volumetric strain. So after that one, neglecting small quantities is nothing but the delta L. If we neglect this delta L, the volumetric strain is 3 times of L square delta L by L cube. So 3 into delta L by L. So the end of the day, end of the finally, the volumetric strain which is equals to 3 times of normal strain. And then next, elastic constants. Coming to the concept of elastic constants, elastic materials obeys open Hooke's law. We can discuss later in the coming section. We will discuss about the Hooke's law. What is meant by Hooke's law? How does the stress strain relation? How does we maintain stress strain relation? How does the stress propagation within the body? How does the strain or crack after application of load? How does the crack has been propagated? Okay, within the body. Just stress is directly proportional to strain. As per Hooke's law, what is meant by as per Hooke's law, stress is directly proportional to strain. What is the amount of stress induced within the body is equals to or should be equals to the strain. Should be proportional to the strain. The constant of proportionality is represented by elastic constants. The constant of proportionality, which is represented by elastic constants, depending upon the nature of the strain. 3 elastic constants. First one is the modulus of elasticity, and then second one is the modulus of rigidity, and the third one is the bulk modulus. Modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity, the ratio of tensile stress to the corresponding strain is called as modulus of elasticity. If you consider tensile stress to the tensile strain, you can call it as a modulus of elasticity, which is represented by E, Young's modulus, or we can call it as a Young's modulus. Young's modulus, which indicates that what is the strength of the in practical applications, how does we measure the strength of the particular body in the form of Young's modulus. So if in case of steel, 2.18 into 10 to the power of 8 kilonewtons. If in case of cast iron is 1.2 into 10 to the power of 6 kilonewtons. These four, how does we calculate? How does we measure the strength of the steel or cast iron, which we in the form of Young's modulus. Young's modulus is nothing but the modulus of elasticity. We can call it as a Young's modulus. And if in case of modulus of rigidity, the ratio of the shear stress to the shear strain, and is denoted by the G or N, or sometimes C. We can call it as a shear modulus. Shear, it is the ratio between the shear stress to the shear strain. Shear stress is nothing but the whenever the shear load acting on the body, obviously
default at the same default time, shear stress has been induced. Shear stress is directly proportional to the shear load. If in case of tensile load or compressive load, is directly proportional to the tensile with respect of their load. Shear stress to the shear strength, we can call it as a modulus of rigidity. Yeah, in modulus of rigidity is coming to the picture when we would like to design the beam in the bending actions. If in case of bending applications, we assume we consider the modulus of rigidity this constant. Okay, modulus of rigidity. And the next, bulk modulus. Bulk modulus is nothing but the direct stress by volumetric strain. So force, if in an elastic body is acted upon by three mutually perpendicular direct stresses of equal magnitude, three perpendicular mutual direct stresses of equal magnitude, then the ratio of the direct stress to the resulting volumetric strain in the body is called bulk modulus. So this is nothing but the suppose this is the body. I just consider this a 3D element here. Suppose some force has been applied here. I applied some force P in X direction. At the same time, in Q in a Y direction, and at the same time PQR, the force of R in a Z direction. While applying these three mutual perpendicular forces acted on the particular body, there is a change in volume. Okay, the bulk modulus is nothing but the what are the direct stress to volumetric strain. So volumetric strain, there is nothing but the volumetric compressibility in nature, volumetric tensile in nature, or it's depending upon the kind of action acted upon the body. If in case all these forces are like a pulling force, you can call it as a tensile strain. If in case all these forces are applied in a compressive manner, or the obtained strain is compressive strain. So bulk modulus, you can call it as a K. We can represent it as a bulk modulus. K is direct stress to the volumetric. It is the ratio between direct stress. We can call direct stress nothing but these three equal all these three forces are equal in magnitude. P is 5 newtons and Q is 5 newtons and R is also 5 newtons. So all these three forces has equal in magnitude. So equal in magnitude. So obviously at the end of the day, what are the stress induced within the body also are equal to the external forces. So we can call it as direct stress to the volumetric strain. Volumetric strain, you can call it as small e, or to the V, volumetric strain. Okay, the ratio between the direct stress to the volumetric strain, you can call it as a bulk modulus. And the next, mechanical properties of material. What are the mechanical properties we need to consider while designing the machined elements, while designing the beams in the practical applications? Mechanical properties are associated with the behavior of materials subject to mechanical load. Are associated with the behavior of materials subject to mechanical load. The most important mechanical properties are strength, uh, in the sense of what does it mean by uh, how do we measure the materials, how do you classify as per the strength, as per the, how do you specify whether it is capable to the particular purpose? Okay, the strength and modulus of elasticity, ductility, malleability, brittleness, hardness, resilience, toughness, fatigue strength, and grip. This is the mechanical properties we need to consider while designing the mission appliance. What is meant by strength? It is defined as the capacity to resist external loads under given condition. What is the maximum resistance, maximum resistance, resistance of internal forces which resist the external load? We can call it as a strength. What is meant by, how do we measure the strength? Strength is nothing but is a capacity to resist the external load. We need to resist the external load. What kind of force? If in case of 100 kilonewtons, if the material has a capability of resist the 100 kilonewtons, the strength of the material, the particular material, we call it as a 100 newtons, 100 kilonewtons. Suppose if in case of this body can capable of resisting this body as a capable of resisting the 50 kilonewtons, the strength of, obviously the strength of the material is 50 kilonewtons. Okay, and the next, modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity, the ratio of stress to the strain. Elasticity is nothing but the Young's modulus within the elastic limit. You can call it as a modulus of elasticity. Elastic limit is nothing but the in the stress strain diagram. We will discuss in later in the coming session. In the stress strain diagram, up to the proportional limit, we can call it as the elastic limit. The stress, what are the stress induced within the body, is directly proportional to the strain. So up to the elastic limit, we can call it as we can assume some constant. The constant, we can call it as a modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus. The metals with a high modulus of elasticity possess the high stiffness. Stiff is nothing but does not allow us to change in bending also. Changing its dimensions, changing its position, or bending. That is minimum deflection under load. So what are the, there is not not able to change its position. You can call it as if in case of bending. Suppose if you consider a pen, if you apply the force in the in a right side direction, the pen does not change its, does not allow to bending. So we can call it as a pen has a stiffness property. Pen has a elasticity property. Okay, modulus of elasticity. How if you apply the 5 kilonewtons, the body, the pen which does not allow us to bending. If you apply the 100 newtons, the pen will be allowed in bending position. So what is the modulus of elasticity? The maximum, what is the maximum amount of applied we can apply? It is the itself the value is you can call it as a modulus of elasticity. And then ductility, it is the ability of a material to deform under tensile load. The property facilitates wire drawing operations. How can wire drawing operations is nothing but the, so how does the wire drawing operation has been processed? Suppose there are two rollers here, so I would like to pass this body over the in between the rollers. So is nothing but all these two rollers are rotation in a opposite direction, whether it is clockwise, it should be anti-clockwise. So which all these rollers are acted a load on this body, which tends to reduce the reduce the diameter of the beam. So this is the wire drawing operation. So how does we how do we how do you manufacture the wires, like a wires? So the core material has to be passed over the in between the two rollers. Then there is a chance of reduction of diameter, reduction of in lateral direction. So and then later we obtain the wire drawing. This kind of operation you can call it as a wire drawing operation. So ductility is nothing but the ability of material to deform under tensile load. This property is facilitated to wire drawing operation. And then next, if in case of malleability, the ability of a material to deform under compressive load. If in case of if you assume the load acting on the body is tensile load, the material has a ductility property. If in case of compressive load acting on the body, the material has a property of malleability properties. How does the metals are hammered into rolled into thin sheets? Already we have discussed. Already we may aware about this thin sheet metal operations. While sheet metal operation, metals are hammers, or with the through the hammers we apply in the some external force. So this you can call it the sheets has been molded into whatever the required shape as we want. So all these hammered for all these hammered force are compressive load. Okay. So in case of sheets, how does we obtain the sheets? Is has a property of malleability property. And the next, brittleness is nothing but the it is the ability of a material to fracture with very little deformation. With very little deformation, the very small, if you apply the 10 kilonewtons, the obtained change in length will be 1 meter, 1 mm, or 2 mm, or 5 or 3 mm. Very with corresponding to the applied load, the change in length will be very minimum. We may neglect the change in length also. The brittle material have low percentage of elongation, as we discussed. So glass, when applying the external load, the glass does not allow it to change its dimension. So if in case of summer also, it maybe allows to 1 mm or 1 mm maximum. So beyond that one, the glass does not allow to elongation. Okay, brittleness. So if glass has a property of brittleness, and then it's hardness. It is defined as the ability of material to resist abrasion. Abrasion is nothing but the some kind of particles is thrown with a specified velocity over the material. So with a velocity, the cutting action performed by these stones, we can call it as a abrasion stones. So this is the operation of while not only in conventional machine as a conventional machine. So we applied the cutting tool over the length of the beam. And in case of abrasion is nothing but the advanced stage of machining operations. And the next, some powder material has been applied with a high velocity with this some equal high impact over the object. These high powder materials has performed the cutting action. So this kind of operation we can call it as a abrasion or scratching. So or indentation is nothing but the indentation where let me consider an object, a body, upon which a sphere has, I would like to place a sphere. While applying the load on the sphere, the sphere will be the sphere will be injected or the sphere will be immersed into this body. When we remove the load, at the same time when we remove the sphere, the body will be like this. There is a chance of cavity, providing this is the cavity. We can call it as a cavity. While preparing the Vinayak ideals also, cavity. So this is the indentation. We can call it as a, this is the indentation. In indentation only, the cavity has been provided. Hardness is nothing but the is defined as the ability of a material. The material should have the ability to resist the abrasion, to resist the scratching, to resist the indentation. We can call it if we if these properties having by material, that material we can call it as a hardness. Hardness has a, that material has a property of hardness. This is the desirable property for parts subjected to wear. Okay, if in case of wear and tear applications, we should consider whether the material has a hardness property or not. And if in case of resilience, resilience is nothing but the ability of material to store energy within the elastic limit, up to some elastic limit, without permanent deformation, is called resilience, or it is the desirable property for the proper parts subject to impact loads. So resilience we can discuss later in the coming session. We will discuss regarding the structural strain curves. And next, toughness. The ability of a material to absorb energy before the fracture is called toughness. Fatigue strength. The maximum stress at which the material will operate indefinitely without failure is known as fatigue strength of endurance limit. Creep. I would like to give some basic information about the how do we measure the stress strain curves. Suppose there is a separate equipment here. We can call it as a UTM. Universal testing machine. UTM, you can call it as a UTM. In UTM, there is a I took a specimen which has a So this is the specimen. This is the specimen. Load. This is we applied in the by this work holding devices. These are the work holding devices. We applied the load in the in this direction. In this direction, we applied the load like this one. So while we applying the after the application of load, the specimen has a tendency to absorb the load up to some point, and the next and beyond that point, the specimen will allow it to form a crack within the body. So after the application, after suppose up to 100 newtons, the body can sustain. The body as usual, look like as usual. After the application of 101 newtons, after the application of 101 newtons, the body has allowed to form. There is a crack formed here in this neck position. There is a crack formed here. After while we successive addition of the load, the successive addition of the load 100 newtons, 105 newtons, 110, 110 newtons, 120 newtons, 150 newtons. This is the crack. This is the crack. A crack has been developed, induced with, has been formed within the body. So that crack, while we successive addition of the body, addition of the load, the crack has a propagation in any direction, like this one. Crack has propagation. Okay, and the material will be break, split into two pieces. So how do you specify the stress? How do you measure the stress? So while applying the load, obviously, whenever the load acted upon the certain body, obviously there is a definitely there is a opposite resisting force induced within the body. Is this resistance force, as we know that while applying the load acting on the body at one particular section, these forces are these internal forces are induced within the body. All these internal forces are imaginary forces. Here we need to understand it. All these internal forces are imaginary forces. Now we can't see is a completely pseudo forces. Pseudo forces is nothing but the we can't see with our naked eyes. Just we just we just feel the say forces only. That's enough. Okay? We can't see with our naked eyes. So if you it's a universal testing machine, in the testing machine after application of load, the after up to certain point, the specimen has a capable to whatever the load, okay, corresponding load. If in case, so while we increase the load, while increasing the load, the crack, there is a chance of formation of crack within the at the neck position. After while we successfully additioning the load, the crack will propagate in at any direction and it tends to break the specimen into two pieces. Okay, so if you draw a graph between what is the stress strain diagram, this is the in y-axis you can take stress in x-axis you can take strain. Suppose if you draw the graph, if you draw a graph, the stress strain will be the like this one. So this is the elastic, this is the elastic proportionality limit. Here the here the crack propagation, crack will be happen. Here the crack will be happen, and then this is the fracture of after the complete formation of propagation of crack, the body which tends to split the body splits, the fracture has been done. Is the crack up to this up to the proportional limit. So it's nothing but the up to the proportional limit, the stress is directly proportional to the strain. Okay, as per the Hooke's law, which tends to maintain a relation between the stress and strain. As per the Hooke's law, up to the this is up to the 100 newtons or suppose 15 newtons, you can assume whatever it may be. Up to the elastic limit or elastic proportional point, we can call it as a proportional point. Up to the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to the strain. So it's after reaching the elastic limit, it does not directly proportional to the strain. It may changes from. Okay, there is a alteration between the relationship between the stress and strain. Up to the elastic limit only, there is a constant. They have maintained some constant relation between the proportionality. If in case of 100 newtons, if you increase the stress in increments of 10 newtons, 20 newtons, 10 newtons, 20 newtons, obviously the corresponding strain will be the 1 mm, 2 mm, 3 mm. So every increment of 10 newtons, the corresponding strain will be the 1 mm. So there is a relationship, there is a proportionality in between these two. Okay. After the application, as you observe the graph here, after the increase of the load, it may be chance of there is no relationship between, there is no proportionality. It may be it may be inversely proportional to this, or so inverse proportional or whatever may be, it does not maintain any relation, any proportional with the stress. Okay, up to the proportional point, up to the elastic limit, you can call it as a elasticity. And this one is the plasticity. This one is the plasticity. Elasticity is nothing but the when we apply a load, when we applied an object, a force on an object P, the body tends to compress its size. Okay. So after removing of load, the body able to regain its original shape? We can call it as elasticity. If does not regain its original shape, we can call it as a plasticity. Okay. If again it brings back to original position, we can call it as a elasticity. If in case of rubber, if you just took an example of rubber, if you apply the force in the opposite direction, then after removal of load, so obviously we are applying some force, we are applying some load on the rubber. After removal of load, the rubber will be tries to again it tends to allow it to its original position. So you can call it as a elasticity, rubber band or anything. If in case of plasticity, if you apply the any grease or anything or what you call it is any plastic materials, after application of load, the plastic material will be does not tends to its regain its original shape. It may be mold to what are the cavity we have provided here. So it does not regain its original shape. So we can call it as a plasticity. Up to the this is the elastic limit. Up to the elastic limit, the stress has as a directly proportional to the strain. So resilience is nothing but the ability of a material to store energy within the elastic limit. Up to the elastic limit, the material has the ability to absorb the energy. Okay. So up to the elastic limit, the ability of material absorb the energy, you can call it as a resilience. Up to the if in case of if you consider up to the fracture, this is the fracture. Okay, you can call it a fracture. This is the fracture. Okay. Up to if you consider up to the fracture, if you consider the ability of material to store energy up to the fracture, we can call it as a toughness. If in case up to the elastic limit, we can call it as a resilience. If you consider up to the fracture, we can call it as a toughness. Okay. And the next fatigue strength. Fatigue stress is nothing but the maximum stress under the varying load at which the material will operate indefinitely without failure is known as fatigue strength. And the next creep. So creep is a slowed progressive deformation of a material with the time to constant stress is called creep. So suppose I just consider a stick. I just consider a stick here. So the load applied like this direction. Okay, it's just a stick here. Fatigue. If we consider a beam, load is acted upon by in this direction, next the bending direction. How much times? If number of times, if we consider a stick, and a wooden stick here, after application of loads in this direction, after how do you break the wood? How do you break the stick? So after application some variable loads, after applications are like repeated reverse cycles, repeated. So up to the until the stick getting fracture, we applying the load number of times. Number of times we can this application of number of applying the load in number of times, you can call it as a fluctuation of loads. So up to the material getting fracture is own fracture, we apply the loads. Okay, so this the process of, you can call it as a fatigue. So under the fatigue load, the maximum stress under varying loads at which the material will operate indefinitely without failure. So is known as the fatigue stress. Fatigue stress is nothing but the uh, if we consider if we applied the force with suppose 10 times, so the material won't be fractured, will not be fractured. After repeat the load at the 11th time or 12th time the material will be getting fractured, getting cracked. Okay, split into two pieces, it will getting breaks. Okay, so what is the maximum unlimited, what is the maximum strength of the up to the 10 times only, up to maximum strength of the beam is up to 10 times only. So how do you, after 11th time or 12th time the material will be getting fractured. And then next, creep. If you consider a diagram, if I apply the same body, we apply the load here. So after 1 year, the material has a getting deformation. After 1 year, if we place the a load and then leave it, left it alone, allowed to left it alone. And then next, after 1 year, the material will getting some deformation over the span of time. So it may be reduce its dimension. Dimension. Okay. Initially, the width of the body is 5 mm. Initially, the width of this 5 mm, and then after 1 year, the width of the beam is 3 mm. Okay. Creep is nothing but the slow and progressive deformation of a material with to respect to the time at a constant stress is called creep. Depending on the temperature, stress even below the elastic limit can cause some permanent deformation. Creep is a very important property to be considered while designing the component to withstand stress while at a relatively high temperature. If in case of uh, in summer condition, the steel, some iron particles, iron bodies, how getting a tends to change its dimension. It expands its dimension. In case of railway tracks, we provide the I section of beams. So if in case of after in summer, the body due to the heat from the sun, the body is tends to getting heat and then it tends to change its length. Okay, it's expand in the direction of length. So this is nothing but this is a creep. It's not only the force, even the temperature also plays a key role while applying the load. Okay. Mm, okay, thank you. In the next lesson we will discuss later.